I'm going to take you back to 2010. I was a long-haired, hippie kind of worship leader guy. The Facebook, you can go back in the Facebook archives and find my shoulder-length hippie hair, shirts that I had made, linen pants, the whole thing. I've since come to faith, and just kidding, whatever. Anyways, so every Tuesday, Christina was living in a house with 7 other girls, I believe, and every Tuesday after school, so like 3 or 4, whatever it was, they would have a prayer meeting at their place, and I had caught wind of this, and so I was going to this prayer meeting, and every Tuesday, as we were kind of like getting ready to go sit at this prayer meeting, I was going to try to find a spot that had like a spot maybe next to it, and just sort of like wandering around, just trying to catch a spot next to this 5'4" blonde knockout. And so we would be like there. These are like hour-long prayer meetings. So we sit there and just kind of like people just praying back and forth. And everybody's eyes are closed and it's super intense. And every once in a while you just like sneak a peek. And I'm like once or twice we like sneaking a peek at each other. And you're like, oh God, shoot, it's so embarrassing. And it's just this, and we're like, oh my God, this is like, and you start to develop this really strange feeling for Christina. And it's like, oh my God. And then we were getting ready to go on a missions trip, and we had quite a bit of time in the airport. And so because I'm a mega nerd, I pulled out a pack of cards. Everyone was playing cards. I pulled out my pack of cards, and I did some like card magic tricks. And this was the first time I got Christina to laugh. She will tell you that she thought it was a little endearing, and I think that's a really nice way of saying what was happening there. And then it was walks. One time she told me that she was going to go. I was like, what are you doing tomorrow? She's like, oh, I'm thinking about going for a run. And being, I was like, I was planning on going for a run tomorrow as well. Why don't you? So she hopped on the bus down to my apartment, and we took a run through the downtown of Milwaukee, stopping every like 4 blocks to check out the scenery or let me catch my breath. I don't know which. I was not a runner, and I didn't go for any more. We went on like 3 runs during this time, and then I didn't for like 5 years go on any more runs. And so it was like not long into our dating when she was like, you're not really a runner, are you? And I was like, I mean, I did. I ran, so I guess that somewhere in those like walks and times we're just hanging out with family and at church, started to develop this like really strong feelings for Christina. I caught feels, And so I went to one of my good friends, and I was like, hey man, I think I really like Christina. He said, that sounds awesome. You should go talk to her. So I took her to the zoo, and we went, and I remember standing in front of the elephants, and it was the first time I made a little joke, like a little, like a little snarky little joke, and I was like, I'm just kidding. I gave her a little hug, and she gave me a little hug, and it went a little long, and I was like, maybe she'll say yes. And I was going to ask her at the zoo, but, I'm chicken, so then we went for like a walk downtown, and I was going to ask her there, and still chicken. And then we went back to my place. I made dinner, and it's almost time to go, and I'm like, Caleb, you have to do this. I was so nervous, and so I just word vomited basically. It came out all kind of crazy. It was really long. She's like, I don't know what you said. I just remember it taking a long time for you to get it out, and so it's just like rambling a ton. And we believed and that. Dating is best served as like the preamble to marriage. Like if you're, and we'll talk all about this in 2 weeks, but for the context of the story here, we're thinking, man, if I don't want to start dating somebody that I wasn't ready to marry, not at some point, at least to learn. So I'm not asking you to marry me, I'm not asking you to date me, but I'm just saying, hey, if this is where that's going, if this isn't going there, we'll break up. We'll talk all about it in 2 weeks. I promise it makes a ton of sense and super helpful. Anyway, so I said all of that. So instead of asking her out, I said, I think God is bringing us together to get married. I'm just word vomiting at this point. I'm out of control. And she said yes. I was like, oh my gosh. And so everything inside of me is freaking out. And Christine and I also didn't kiss until our wedding day. And so we were kind of hugging with boundaries and stuff. It was just a super awkward, weird night, but that was crazy. And so then the next day, we started talking about it, and I asked her a question about it. We're just like all in these like we're like all in the feels. And so we're talking, and she says, I asked her a question about something she had said the night before or whatever, and she looked at me, and I could tell there was like courage bubbling up in her, and she said, "I love you." And I was like, oh, this is day 2 of dating. And I was like pot committed. I was like, "I love you too." And so she's continued to hold this over my head for over 8 years now. I said, "I love you first. I've loved you longer, so I love you more." That's her argument. And I told her I literally have a bigger heart, so I literally love you more. Anyways, as we were preparing for this series, I went back to that moment where she said, "I love you," day 2, so fast. I don't recommend it. It was not. And so she said that, and all of a sudden I remember how confused and excited and everything that I was. It was like, oh my gosh, what does it mean? What does that mean? I love you. I said it back, not really knowing what it meant. So here we are, almost 8 years married. For the record, we dated for another 3 months. Got engaged. We were engaged for 4 months, and so we went, and again, that was our speed, and it was crazy. And but it's worked out pretty well for us. We have an incredible marriage. Leo is a part of our family now, and we just love, it worked for us. And as I look back on that moment, thinking about what I meant when I said, "I love you too," I didn't know what I meant, but I know more now. And so we're going to kind of unpack a little bit about what this word love really means. Because our culture has this major story about what it means to love someone. And it tells it all the time through all kind of media. We hear most songs are about love at some level, or heartbreak. This is just the thing we always talk about. Most movies have some kind of a thing, whether it's like a rom-com or some kind of epic movie. There's always this sort of romantic interest. It's super compelling for all of us, and I think we've been actually built that way to love this, to experience this, to like want that, to see that, to enjoy it, and ultimately to desire that for ourselves. And so what we're going to talk about today and for the next couple weeks is how that desire to love and to be loved, how does that play out in our everyday lives? And how does the story that the culture around us tells about love conflict with the story that God is telling us about love through his word? That sound like fun? That sounds like so fun, so much fun. Does anybody have a quarter or a coin? I don't need a quarter, I just need a coin. You may or may not get it back. I'm throwing it in the offering. Yes! All right. Thank you, Abby. Thank you, Abby. All right. So on the count of 3, I want you to yell heads or tails, okay? I just need you to yell heads or tails on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Yes. All right, now I'm going to flip this. And if you're right, I want you to stand up. It's heads. So heads, stand up. All right. So there's a lot of people standing up. The story the world tells about love and the way that we go into marriage leads to this many people, out of the total number of people here, ending their marriage in divorce. Super sad. You guys are all so excited to stand. You didn't really win. I don't know if the one's standing or whatever, but so this is the statistics. Y'all can see it. Y'all can sit. I want you to remember this. So the story that the world tells about marriage and love leads to about a 50% divorce rate in the U.S. 50%. And in the church, it's not really any better. It's not noticeably different. So maybe there's something about the way that we're approaching love, dating, singleness, sexuality that is not working well. I don't think it's not the way that we're made. It's not our desire for love or to be loved. It's not our desire to be married. It's nothing that's, but it's the way that we're applying and going about our relationships. And even this like concept of love. Think about how we talk about this. We say things like, I fell in love, or I caught feels. And this is totally real. And I would say that actually is part of what it means to love somebody, is to have a strong feeling or emotion towards them. So and that absolutely is true. I remember those moments when I was falling in love with Christina as we were like walking, and every time we were getting to hang out, I was like, oh, what's she going to be like wearing, and like, what are we going to talk about, and everything is so nervous, and you're trying to just look and be the best that I can, and just so in love, and it was absolutely real. But it's only a part of the story. The feeling of love is only part of the story. But this is the part of the story that we always focus on. The feeling. Because the problem with love being only this feeling is that if you can fall in love, you can fall out of love. Or you can fall in love with somebody else. And if the decision you made on the front end to love somebody was all about a feeling, and now you get that feeling for somebody else, and you're listening to all the advice that says follow your heart, well, your marriage is doomed. For sure. So we don't follow our heart that way. I want us to reorient a little bit around this idea of love. Feelings don't drive the bus. So if you think about our feelings, and they're absolutely real and they're valid, and when you think about, I think about the way I still even feel about Christina today, it's not every single day I feel so deeply in love with her. It's most days. She's really great and easy to love. Probably the reverse is not as true, meaning I'm not as easy to love. But she's really easy to love, and I love her a lot most days. But there's days that I just do not feel the same way I felt 8 years ago, walking around downtown Milwaukee as the leaves began to change, hand in hand, staying warm. There's days when I didn't do the dishes, and I don't want to do the dishes. I'm not about to do the dishes. And then I do the dishes, resentfully. And I don't know if it's better to have done them and been mad about it, or to have not been done them. The happily ever after is where the story stops for our culture. And they met, and there was they fell in love, and it was awesome, and then there was this big sort of breakup moment. It's every rom-com ever. They kind of like stumble into each other, and they're like, oh my gosh. They see the one, my soul was made for your soul. They fall in love, and then something from the past comes up, or some misunderstanding, something happens, and they break up, but then love, this forces them back together, and it's inevitable that they will end up happily ever after. I would say that the most interesting part of my relationship with Christina started where most of the stories end. That it's the falling in love, and oh my gosh, I wish I could go back and live that every day. And we do. We go on dates. We try to get on a date once a week, and we try to keep that alive, that feeling alive. And I think we have in a big way, but that's not the most important part about our love for one another anymore. That's the cool beginning part, but love is so much deeper than the feeling of love. I think part of our confusion is love is a word with a million meanings. Love is a word with a million meanings. I love church. I love you guys. I love Christina. I love Leo. I love my mom. I love tacos. I love pizza. I love nachos. I love hiking sometimes. I think I'd love surfing. I don't know. No one's taking me. I'm just kidding. What was that, Caleb? But do you see the problem? We just use love. It's this big word with a million meanings, and we use it for like everything. And because we use it for sort of everything, when somebody says, I love you, how do we know what that means? I love you like I love pizza or tacos, or I love you like I love God, or I love you like, there's so many different like shades of meaning for this word, love. And the cultural definition for love is exciting. Even if we think about like this romantic love, it's very exciting, and it's full of passion and energy. And we look and we see these movies with, yes, we want that. And yes, actually, we kind of do want that. But it isn't enough. It's too shallow in a sense. If all love is this feeling of strong affection for another person, it's just too shallow. There's a love that's deeper. There's a love that's stronger. There's a love that abides. The end of Song of Solomon says that love is stronger than the grave. True love, real love, is stronger than even death. Love is the most powerful thing. And we think of this in the sense of compared to what our culture is telling us that love is. And I love him, because we think love is a feeling, and love is a feeling, but love is more than that. I don't want just a cool story for our love to get started. I want a 70-year anniversary just getting started to love one another kind of love. I want a kind of love that when we're like 90, we're like, man, I feel like I'm just getting to know you. I'm just falling in love with you all over again and again and again. That life is with her isn't old or boring or stale, but it's more exciting then than it even is today. I believe that's the thing. That's what God wants for all of us. 70 years and just getting started. Christina has this vision, a dream, I don't know which it is, and she that we are going to die together, like in The Notebook. We talk about it. She's like, that's how we're going out. I'm like, I'm totally into that. But because I don't want to get to the end and have like coasted through this. I think love is one of the coolest parts of our entire life. And I spent so much of my young life thinking about who am I going to marry, who am I going to love, that I'm not going to give up on that now. I'm going to press in. I'm going to make sure that the love that we have and the love that we share is something that is way deeper than just this feeling, because the feeling is so fleeting, like any other feeling. And if we let this feeling of love drive our marriage is going to run into the ditch kind of often. So we love feelings. Like we embrace that, and we love it, but we don't let it drive. I don't make decisions about the way I act towards her based on how I feel about her. Love isn't, you don't fall in love. Love doesn't come on you. It's like, this is the cultural definition of love is like very, very close to this like idea of Cupid, right? So you got this like sort of cute little cherub with a bow and arrow, and he hits you with the arrow and you can't help it. Or this like love potion, you're like, oh, I'm just in love with this person forever. But that's not how love really works. And it feels like that on the front end, but it doesn't feel like that forever. Love doesn't happen to you. Love is built. If you're taking notes, anything you want to walk away with today, this is the idea that love is built. Love is built. Love is absolutely a feeling. But love is a choice. Let's go back to our verse here from 1 John 4:10. It says this is real love. Say real love. There's a lot of not real love. There's a lot of fake love. There's a lot of like subpar love. Like, I love pizza, but I'm not willing to like die for pizza. Or like tacos or football, like I'm not. But this is real love. Not that we loved God, but that he loved us and sent his son as a sacrifice to take away our sins. If you're wondering what real love looks like Jesus on the cross. This moment defined for us for the rest of eternity what it looks like to love someone. Later on in 1 John 4, it says that we only love because he first loved us. Our love, our ability to give and sacrifice, lay our lives down, to live out a cross-shaped love comes from Jesus himself and the way that we see what he's done for us. If you want to know how to love your family better, Love your spouse better. Love your friends better. You want to know how to love better? Connect with what Jesus did on the cross and pray for the grace to embody that, because that is real love. That is real love. And so badly for you, I don't want you to settle for anything short of real love. Can I just tell you, as somebody who cares about you a ton, that you deserve real love? You deserve real love. You deserve somebody who's willing to, like Jesus, lay his life down for you. And sometimes that looks like doing the dishes. And sometimes that looks like, well, our budget is real limited, and I know you love those shoes, and I would love these shoes. And it's just these little things that they're not big, massive gestures. So much of loving someone is in these small things. I don't like that restaurant, but I know you do. So I'm going to go, but I'm not going to complain. And those are the little things, and it goes from the little things even to the bigger things as well. It starts in the small things. It's the little decisions. It's the little laying yourself down. But it ends up in these really big things where we're talking about the future of our family, our daily routine, our Saturday mornings. I'm not looking, man, what can I do? How can I get them? Look, man, at the end of my life, I'm going to look at Christina, and I'm going to look at Jesus. And I'm going to be responsible at some level for how well did I love her? How much did I lay my life down for her? Paul would tell us this. He said, husbands, love your wives just as Jesus loves the church and gave himself for her. That's what real love looks like. That's the command to husbands, and I would say that's also the command to wives, is that we love each other as Christ loves us, and we give ourselves for each other. Don't have to settle. Find somebody who's going to do that with you. If you're in a marriage right now and you feel like, man, that's not the way that we are. The hope is that really none of us are that way. So I stand up here and I say all these things about love and don't settle and all that, but like standing here guilty as anyone for not loving that way. The grace of God is there to help us forgive one another when we haven't loved the way we should, and to help us to step into a greater, more powerful love. The closer we get to Jesus, the more we understand his love for us, the more we are capable of loving one another well. We're in a series on romantic love, and so I want this. I mean, this goes across the board. We got to love our friends well. We have to love our church well. We have to love our neighborhood well. The Bible says, "Love your neighbor as yourself." We have to do that well. But we're going to narrow in the focus here, and for the next 3 weeks after this, we're going to talk about what this looks like specifically in marriage, to love someone well. What it looks like specifically while single or dating, to love someone well. What it looks like it's to where love, what God wants and desires for us, in interfaces with our sexuality. And I'm very excited to share all of this. And but I want us to get in before we step beyond this, we have to reorient the way we think about love. There's really two camps for the way that we think about love, and it's going to set the baseline. And the question is this: who is at the center? That's the question that you have to answer when you're talking about, I love her. I love him. Who is at the center of that feeling? Are you saying, I love the way I feel when she's around? I love the way I feel when she compliments me. I love the feeling I get I love the feeling I get when I serve her. The greatest enemy to love in your life is going to be yourself. It's the greatest enemy to love that you're going to have is going to be yourself. We push, because when we're at the center, we push boundaries and we take things that don't belong to us. When we're at the center of an interaction with another person, we're thinking about, what can I get? How far can I go? How far will she let me go? How much of her can I get? But it's just, this is absolutely, how much of him can I get? The wrong spirit when it comes to loving and serving another person. I come to my relationship with Christina on my very best days with all the grace in the world from God and say, God, I want to give myself for her. Not what can I get out of this relationship. If we can flip that, and I'm doing that, and so is she, all of a sudden, neither one of us is needing and pulling from this relationship and draining the other person. We're both building the other person up. We're both looking out for each other's needs. And in this way now all of a sudden, everything I need from her, I'm getting from her, not because I've demanded it, because I've served her. This is the inversion that we have to kind of turn our minds, that I'm not at the center. And the only way to really be fulfilled in a relationship, filled in love, is to turn it over and say, I'm not going to demand from this relationship what I need. I'm going to give to this relationship what I need. I'm not going to say, God, I'm not going to come to Christine and say, you know what, I need more of all these things. And you have to be able to have conversations, say, I feel like this is hard. And we're talking all about having those conversations. Good. We need those things. But the overarching feeling of the way that you interact with the person that you claim to love needs to be sitting in this place where I'm here to give. I'm here to serve. I'm here to lift up. And at the end of my life, she's going to look more like Jesus because of the life that I lived in relationship with her. That's the goal. Christina does this better than anybody I've ever met in my life. On Sunday mornings, when I have the worst Sundays in the world, some Sundays are hard. I don't know if you know that. Some are hard. And I get home, and she says, how'd it go? And I said, not the Sunday to ask that question. She's able to look me in the eyes and treat me like I'm her superhero. Her Sunday mornings are very hard, harder than mine, easily. She gets Leo up by herself. She gets ready. She comes here to set up, and she's in there right now singing to your kids and pouring all that out. And then she's going to come out of there and she's going to connect with all of you and get all that ready. Leo is missing naps all along the way. It's just like, it's not a perfectly ideal situation. She is a freaking superhero, but I still get home, and rather than dump on me what she has, and she has every right to, and she probably should. She says, you're the best in the world, man. Baby, I love you. And it's in those moments that I really understand the way that she loves me. And we're blessed enough to see in those moments the love of Jesus. It doesn't think about itself first, but thinks about the other. That's the center of love. We give what we give, we serve, we love. So we talk about love. Don't settle for somebody who's not going to try to get to you and to serve you and to love you that way. Somebody, if you're in a relationship, you're not married, at some point in history, in your life coming forward, and you feel like this person's just trying to get more and more from you, just trying to get more and more from you, just trying to get more and more from you, I would turn off the faucet. Walk away. Because you deserve somebody who's willing to serve you. If you're going to lay your life down for somebody, that's my advice anyhow. And I think that's why two people who didn't know each other when they got married, at all, I mean really at all, have been able to make it work. And not just make it work, but to thrive. Our marriage is really fun. And I think it's because Christina is really great at this. And I'm learning. Because we have the band come up, I just want to read something to you guys out of, it's a wedding verse. It's one of the ones we read at the weddings, 1 Corinthians 13. I didn't put it in the slides. I just wanted to read it to you. Is that okay? Yeah. I said, is that all right? Okay, cool. It says, love suffers long and is kind. This is love. Just think about, this is what love is. In the face of the definition that the world gives us, in the face of even the history that you have with this word love, let's fight through the cultural definitions and even fight through our own histories and just kind of let God for a moment just define what love is for us. Ready? Love suffers a long time, or love is patient. And it's kind. It doesn't envy. It doesn't parade itself. And it's not puffed up. It doesn't behave rudely. It doesn't seek its own. It's not provoked. Love thinks no evil. Love doesn't rejoice in iniquity. When you're down, I'm not happy because she's down. I don't go into an argument trying to win it. It rejoices in the truth. Love bears all things, all things. Love believes all things. Have you ever been in a relationship with somebody that's suspicious all the time? It's not love. Love hopes all things. Love hopes that when Christina looks at me, she doesn't see the me I am. She sees she sees the me I am and the me that I'm becoming. And when I act out of character, she knows that God is at work within me and she can forgive. Love hopes all things. And it endures all things. Love isn't scared away. And love never fails. Love never fails. And I know this standard is insane. The standard that the Bible puts forward for love, the standard of Jesus on the cross that he puts forward for love is insane. None of us will meet it. But the grace of God is in us and among us to help us do better. My suggestion to you is don't settle for somebody who's not trying to love like this. And for some of us, it's hard sometimes to love like this, but God has given us the grace to move along the road. I love that love never fails. I love that love never fails.